Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for Turn, Season 1, Episode 9, Against Thy Neighbor. And this episode was amazing. I love this episode. I thought it was really, really good. And we're really setting up for that finale next week, which is going to be really, really good. And this episode was just by far the best episode of the season. Especially the end. It's gonna get intense. It really is. Let's just get to the episode, though. So we see Abe. We're now in the spring of 1777, and Abe is buying flowers in the market, and the kids are playing, and soldiers are roaming around, and Anna comes out of a shop, and she sees a yellow flower on a barrel, and she picks it up and looks around. She sees another on the ground, goes to it, and picks it up. She follows the trail of flowers to a cellar door, and that's all there is. So Simcoe says the spies are clever and have been operating under their notes, and Hewlett thinks that this is just conjecture and gossip, and Simcoe says gossip is how this goes, and quotes the Bible. And Hewlett says he's given him a month, and he still hasn't turned up the spy-related position. He says all that Simcoe has is gossip, and he says the conspirators know he's coming for them. You know, they're kind of trying to figure out who exactly is Culpepper, because they know that all they know is that Culpepper is this very good spy. That's all they really know. They don't realize that it's Abe. In comes two scenes. One of them is the cutest scene on the show so far. The other is, like, the crazy scene on the show. We see Hewlett's horse just starts going crazy. It runs out. It's, like, insane. And in the meantime, Abe and Anna are having sex in the cellar. And the horse is getting wilder. And Simcoe and Hewlett run out as the horse kicks out the door. And Anna tells Abe, you know, as I said, this is the cutest scene with Anna and Abe. I mean, even though that Abe is cheating on Mary, Anna is his true love. He doesn't have a very good relationship with Mary other than, oh, they're married. You know, other than that. You know, he was told to marry Mary. It was basically an arranged marriage. With Anna, he actually really does love her. So, that's really interesting. So, you know, basically, Anna tells Abe he was in a hurry and says he wishes they had more time, and if he could, he would run away with her. She says he can't, and says she can't either. And she says that he has obligations to his family. They both have roles in the war, and she very jokingly calls him Mr. Culpepper, and he's like, oh, I hate that name. And she says she can't be Mrs. Woodhull, she can be Mrs. Culpepper, and he tells her not to say that, and, you know, it's really cute, because, like, you know he doesn't want to be Mr. Culpepper, but at the same time, it's kind of become second nature to him, so it's kind of funny there. I enjoyed that scene. And then they end up kissing tenderly, so that was a cute scene. But then the officers come back into the building, they find the horse, Bucopolis, on the floor. They're looking to be in death throes. Hewlett calms the animal, then takes Simcoe's gun, and they have no choice but to put the animal down, because when an animal is that crazy, you have to kill them. It's basically, like, not even a choice. Like, say you're, like, it's probably either rabid, it's either, like, detected rabies or something like that, or it just is, like, so crazy, like, maybe it saw something, I really don't know, but in a situation like that, you have to kill the horse. It's, like, not even, you have to. And it's frothing at the mouth, and the animal doctor is called, and he looks over the horse carcass. He says the animal was poisoned, and that shooting him was a mercy. So that's why the horse was going so crazy, because it was poisoned. And he said the apple had a foreign smell like almonds, and Hewlett says it must have been poisoned since the animal was in perfect health. He calls it a senseless murder, and Simcoe says it was an attempt on his life, since he often ate the same apples he fed his horse. And Hewlett says it came from Brewster's farm, and Simcoe says the man was on top of his list. He says he'll search the farm. Then we see Sackett, and the others talk about the cipher key. And Culpepper stole from, you know, Culpepper Abe stole from John Andre's paper and said it's a great discovery. They have used it on encrypted passages, and they discuss how Howe is moving troops to Staten Island, where the Royal Navy has moved boats. So Talmadge is ordered to take, Ben is ordered to take dragons and militia and go north. He wants to go south to fight, but he says it's a counter thing to fool them into thinking they have no knowledge of the Redcoat troop movements. Then we see Mary. Now, Mary, in the meantime, has no idea what's going on with Abe and Anna. And you know what? I don't like Mary's character anymore. She's so, like, completely clueless of what's going on. However, I thought she was going to be, like, completely clueless of what's going on. But actually, in this episode, she was starting to get suspicious. Because she knows that him and Anna have chemistry. She's making in the bed, and the boy picks up something off the floor. and she hears a noise and comes down to find Baker in the kitchen. She offers to cook for him, but he says it's no trouble. She says she thought it was Abe, but since it isn't, can he guess where he is and who he's with? And Baker offers to go, but she says he's the only man who lives there now. She asks if his parents married for love or was it arranged, and he says he never actually met his parents. He never actually met his parents, and he grew up in an orphanage, and he never knew a home like this. So to him, this is like luxurious. So Baker tells her that this is love in their home and says he knows because he knows what the absence of it feels like. And I overall really enjoyed his character. I thought that was a really interesting scene there. So a redcoat comes into Anna's bar with Lucas Brewster and says he's using the cellar as a temporary jail. Richard tells Simcoe that Lucas is in failing health and not the likely culprit. And then Abe comes in and asks about and hears about the poisoned apple. Abe says that sounds serious and if there's any evidence. And Simcoe is dismissive of him. And Richard says if he's confessed, and Simcoe says that a noose will loosen him up. Richard says they're going to hang a citizen. They should bring in someone with more experts than the vet. And Simcoe says he'll see it. So Abe offers his dad a ride home. Simcoe asks to ride along and talk about the case. Richard says the innocent must be protected. Richard is climbing onto the trap when there's a gunshot. And Richard is shot. I mean, that was amazing when Richard was shot. Like, because I thought Richard was going to get killed off. Honestly, as I said, Richard's my least favorite character on this show. And if he would have died, I actually wouldn't have cared because he's my least favorite character. So Simcoe then takes cover, pulls out his gun, calls for guards. Abe finds blood pouring out of his father and calls for help. And then Richard is being treated for his wound. And he's struggling. And he's in pain, and Abe is there encouraging him. And Mary and her son come in, and she demands to know what happened, and Hewlett tells her he was shot, and they're pursuing his attacker. So, for this part, it's really intense. They found the spot the assassin shot from, and they also found a scrap of paper that was used as weighting, and it's a Bible page, and Hewlett says all civilian arms will be collected tomorrow. Simcoe says he'll see it's done, and promises Abe he'll find the assassin and all the other killers in their midst. The next day, the townfolk are lined up with their firearms and have to register their names and turn their guns in. So Hewlett says the guns will be returned when the town is safe, and Havens asks safe from who, and Hewlett makes a note of his attitude, and Abe turns his in, and Hewlett says to mark him down as a very cooperative. And then Ben comes in, and he turns and reminds him that they've made a church a staple, and Hewlett asks why a preacher needs weapons, and Ben says that all that take the sword shall perish by the sword. So then Simcoe gets word that everything is set in the tavern. The men argue. Moses is told by Walter he needs to put the petition in the fire and run. And Walter tells him to meet at midnight on his boat. So Simcoe comes in and said that he was spoken like a true rebel. He has to a word with Ben, and they lead him out. So Hewlett tells Ben they found the assassin, who is Reverend Talmadge, and that is Ben's father. They found a Bible on his person, and the page is missing that he used as the weighting that was found. Moses Payne shows up and then hands over the petition to put Silas Straw into the New York Congress. So Richard then finally wakes up. And they tell him that they have the evidence to arrest the cabal. And Hewlett tells Simcoe to arrest the whole list and to have a gallows built. He tells him to also arrest Moses, who protests since he turned the list over. And Richard is not in any good shape to oversee the trials. You know, he's in very bad shape. He's still recovering. And Abe says he can do it. And he tells them he studied law and that he has watched his father dispense justice for decades. He tells his father it's time he shoulders some of the burden, and he nods. The rebel army rides through the woods on horseback, and foot soldiers march behind. And Caleb chats with Self, who asks how far the cost is. And they make small talk, and then Caleb rides on to catch up with Ben, who says he shouldn't be fraternizing with the enlisted men. And Caleb says Sela wouldn't be so happy if he knew that Anna thought him dead. He reminds him that those are their friends. So Ben says they need to stick to the rules and says that will be better for them all, but Caleb isn't happy about lying to their friends, but Ben says they have to treat them like the other agents and says spying is a discipline, a craft, and not personal. That's actually very interesting because it's true. Spying is a job. It's not personal. What you do as a spy is not about who you are as a person. It's about what you have to do. And Ben says they need to stick to the rules and says that they will be better for them all. And Caleb is not happy about lying to their friends, but Ben says they have to treat them like the other agents. It says spying is a discipline. Oh, I just read that. So Abe is poring over some books. He hears a noise and comes downstairs, and it's Anna. And he tells her the petition was turned over. She asks why he's doing the trial, and he basically tells her he's planning on letting the case fall apart to avoid convictions. He wants this case to not go right. So she wants to raid the armory and get the guns back and attack the redcoats. She said that's not the way, and tells her he has to study the law books. He goes back to work reading and preparing for the trial. Then we see all these redcoats go door to door, making arrests of names on the petition. He narrates the laws that define rules of human conduct. We see the gallows being built. One man rides off into the night. Nooses are thrown over the hastily constructed gallows. A man is shot off his horse, and it was Simcoe. The man waiting on him hops into his boat and rows away. Abe says that this is how men, creature of reason and free will, must follow their rules. So, the trial is then held at the church building, and when the trial came up, this is where the episode just got amazing. It was already amazing when Richard got shot. However, the trial scene, just, wow. Really great performance from Jamie Bell in this episode. He did a really great job. So, the trial is held at the church building, and Moses is in stocks outside at the pillory, and Abe says that the men plotted murder, conspired, and betrayed trust. Abe asks what defines conspiracy, and says it's secrecy and betrayal. He says that person lives a secret life and pretends to be part of the God-fearing community while he plots its overthrow. He says there is no doubt of their guilt, but they need to discuss their salvation. He says they must repent in order to receive mercy. He then tells Lucas Brewster to stand and face the bench. He does, and Abe swears him in and agrees to tell the truth. Abe asks if he conspired with Nathaniel Talmadge to assassinate his father, and Hewlett, he asks about the cyanide poisoning, but then Nathaniel says it's not his, and the redcoat said it. And Abe says the word of a poisoner doesn't count. And Abe screams that he conspired against Crown and tried to kill his father. His wife stands and begs him to stop and says he's sick. Hewlett then calls for order as the crowd goes wild. Simcoe comes over and asks if he has initially roused sympathy for a killer. And Abe asks if he would have gone easier on him. And Simcoe says to continue the performance since it's only just a formality. So Mary is tending to Richard, and she tells him that their marriage is not what it once was. Which is, Richard says that she is part of the problem. She really is, if you think about it. It's just an arranged marriage, as I've talked about. He reminds her that she begged him to pardon Selah and asks if he truly wants his son. She looks away pained, and he tells her to go be with Abe, who will need a friendly fate in his first stint as a magistrate. But at the same time, Abe does not really love Mary anymore, I don't think. I think Abe really cares about Anna now. And if Abe wants to be with Anna, it's really kind of Richard's fault, because Richard was the one that said Abe should marry Mary. If Abe would not have married Mary, then he could be with Anna right now. And he is with Anna, so, he says that he's heard war stories from them fighting the French and the Iroquois. He says he swore about the war to never take a life again. Abe picks up his gun, loads it, pours in the firing charge, adds the ball that was taken out of his father's body, tries to ram it home, but can't, because Simcoe says that he'll assist and he'll take the gun. He hands him over the ball, and Simcoe drops it, but can't get ramming. The ball will not fit into the musket barrel, and that's really, really big. Because, that was the bullet, so that's a really big thing. And Anna smiles because it's basically working. So, Nathaniel says he must not have ever seen a Pennsylvania rifle, and says it's a musket round like the redcoats use. So, talk breaks down. Hewlett says court is over for the day. Nathaniel says that Hewlett has no authority there. Abe tries to shut him up, but Hewlett says he can make one last sermon since it will be his last. Nathaniel then turns to the crowd and says that these men were sent to subjugate us, but he wouldn't have expected Abe, the boy who grew up best friends with Benjamin, to have turned to them. He says that Abe stayed at the church after Richard walked out and listened, but that's a listen to them all and how people change. Hewlett tells them to take the prisoners back to the prisoner cellar, and then Hewlett tells Abe he did a good job and says his father would be proud. Hewlett says he would like to hang them all, but says that given the confusion, he thinks mercy is in order. He says he's going to send them to 10 years on the Jersey, and Abe says that's a death sentence, and Hewlett asks if he thinks that a hang is better. And Abe says he's not sure he did it, and Hewlett says this will get rid of them, and Abe tells Hewlett that the true assassin is out there, and he will make his mission to find that man. I think that's going to be a part of the next, the season finale and the season 2. I think that's going to be the main plot. So Caleb says he can't feel, and then we get a really sad scene, because Caleb says he can't really feel his legs anymore, which is kind of sad. But Ben says a day to Ridgeview and the rendezvous with Arnold, and Caleb says he may not think of Benedict Arnold once he meets him. They call for a halt as advance guards approach with Havens. Ben and Caleb greet him warmly. He tells them about Simcoe and tells Ben his father and Caleb's uncle have been arrested. So, that's pretty big. And then Haven says he ran to escape the hangman, but the others may not be so lucky. So Ben tells Caleb they have to find someone to lead the men to Arnold and says they're going home, which is basically the best news you can get. I mean, think about it. If you were kind of like fighting all the time and you were told you can go home, that's like the best news for them. So this just gives them such joy. However, I don't think it's going to work out for them because the next episode is called I think it's called the Battle of the Jersey or something like that. Something like that. And then we get the biggest scene of the episode because Mary comes home to see a mess on the table. She puts Thomas down for a nap. She sees the bed has not been slept in upstairs, sets her son down, rips the covers off the bed in anger. She's just really upset. And Thomas is playing and pulls up a loose floorboard. And she tells him not to do that. But then she sees it's a hidey hole and she opens it up. And she's very suspicious of Abe at this point. She's growing more and more suspicious as the episode goes on. She pulls out a book, and she opens it, and guess what? She finds all the notes from Abe's spying activities. So that means, one, he has never told her, he has never told her that he's a spy. He never told her that, and she did not know about that. So, I mean, that's a pretty big thing. Two, she does not know about Anna, so he's probably written stuff in there about Anna, and she doesn't know about the whole thing with Anna. So, she has uncovered the raw information. It's going to get really, really intense next week because Mary has found out more than she needs to know. So what is going to happen with Mary? I honestly don't know what's going to happen there. We'll have to see. But overall, this was by far the best episode of the season. The trial scene, oh my god, that was amazing. I love the trial scene. Is Abe going to find the real assassin that that tried to kill Richard? Do you think that's going to happen? I really think he is going to find them. And maybe next week we're going to have like a final face-off between Abe and that guy that shot his father. I mean, that was really big when Richard was shot. Do you think that someone's going to get killed off in the next episode? I really do. I feel like they're going to kill off a major character. And to be honest with you, I think it's probably going to be Richard. Richard was almost shot in this episode, and he's just, in my opinion, he's the least interesting character. Like, yes, he's interesting, but I wouldn't care if he wasn't on the show. I really would not. He's my least favorite character, as I've said before. So, if you got rid of him, I wouldn't have a problem with that. Anna and Abe, is Mary going to find out the truth about Anna and Abe? I'm pretty sure she is. And also, are Ben and Caleb really going to go home? We'll have to see. And then, what else is going to happen with Ben and Caleb, with Ben's father? Was it Ben's uncle? Ben's father and Caleb's uncle. What's going to happen there? We'll have to see. But that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next review, which will be for Penny Dreadful. So, see you guys for that. Okay, and by the way, I can't believe next week is a season finale of Turn. I really can't, because I feel like this show just started and it's already the season finale, so I just can't believe that. But that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye.